Good morning. You listen to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. This morning, my guest is Santo Torcivia, an economist that focuses on the flooring business and a partner with Floor Focus. Santo, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Kemp. As you know, we just produced our FlooReport.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. It's 372 pages of information. It's got a lot of historical information, but also it's got a lot of forward-looking information. I thought it'd be great to tell our listeners a little bit about what you're predicting in the business. Why don't we start with the economy?
Sure. Looking at the overall U.S. economy, we're seeing a weakening in 2024, a little bit weaker than it was in 2023. But in 26, we should see a pickup after a downturn in 25 and go back to trend growth. And that'll be when interest rates start to come down to more historical levels.
You know, a lot of people had been saying survive to 25, and our annual report that you helped us with, we came out with in May, talked about the U.S. flooring business overall dropping over 10%. And, you know, it was at $28 billion, then went down to $25 billion. And you're talking about in 24, another decline of 3.4%. And then finally, it looks like you've got in 25 a 4.1% increase, and then in 26 a 4.4% increase. And we'll finally get back to that $28 billion number in 28. That's kind of what you're talking about, right?
That's right. And what's holding a lot of this back is a huge headwind from inflation, which is hurting consumers' consumption. It's hurting interest rates, which hurts investment. It's just pervasive, and it's something we got to get past to get through all this and get back to a decent growth in the industry.
You pointed out in this report this deficit has gone to $32 trillion in just 3 years. It was $22 trillion. So that's part of what's adding on to this, right?
That's right. And I just saw a report from the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, and they're forecasting by 2033, $40 trillion in debt. We got to get this under control as a country, and if we don't, we're going to face some dire consequences. It's just a question of, do the people in Washington have the character to go through the aggravation that this is going to cause to get this spending under control?
To live within our means, definitely.
Right.
So you talk about housing. You've got a couple of stats here in housing I want to go through. Obviously, the new build part of the business is still got some life in it, and we're seeing it's shifting to single family, smaller units, and even though with interest rates up, there's still some business there, right?
Yeah, and single family is gaining. They're going to be about 75% of the overall housing starts, which is the highest it's been in a long time. And a lot of that has to do with the big builders who are doing a couple things. They're buying down rates. They're providing a little smaller homes in some of the more expensive metro areas. They're putting incentives in to keep the business alive and doing a pretty good job of it. But affordability still remains an issue. Now, people that are downsizing, baby boomers like me, you know, we take our house, which has a lot of equity in it, and we have no problem with the interest rate because we can just buy down the rate, or we can pay cash for something depending on what we're moving to. So that keeps this thing rolling as well. But younger people are going to have a problem trying to get a mortgage for a while.
So existing home sales, you're talking about it being below the 5 million number for the next year and a half. And that's really the engine that drives replacement, right?
Right. Plus, everything's moving south and west, you know, Florida to Arizona and the Rocky Mountain states. Mm-hmm. And that's all good for builders in those areas. It's not good for people here in the Northeast who are losing population. Home sale prices are still going up, but they're not going up like they are in, let's say, California or Florida.
Let's talk about the non-residential or commercial side of the business. There's still going to be business in the healthcare with the aging population, and education still going to be okay. And then on the municipal side, you're talking about airports. What's happening with offices?
Offices are in major metros are getting converted to data centers. and they are transitioning away from traditional office space. Now they're putting in big servers into these office buildings to service this whole new artificial intelligence area. And you need a lot of servers to do this. And office buildings provide a pretty good venue for all these servers. And in places like, New York, LA, San Francisco, these empty office buildings are starting to get repurposed that way. You talk to architects, you just can't take an office building and make it residential. The plumbing is wrong. There's a whole bunch of things that are wrong with that. I just was reading investment in nuclear power plants may start to rise because they need the humongous amounts of electricity that only these power plants can produce.
Talk about trade with China and what's going on with this continued onshoring here in the U.S. with manufacturing.
Yeah, we're seeing two things going on with that. One, the shipping costs and the problems with shipping that go through the Red Sea and other areas that are becoming a little more dangerous. If you're building in the United States, building products in the United States, you don't have to worry about that. The other thing is Mexico is looking to be an alternative to the United States. Companies are starting to, like China's building an electric car plant in Mexico. And it's a way to circumvent the tariffs, whether it's in the States or Mexico. All of that is helping foreign companies break into the American market and not have to pay the tariffs that could be raised or in existence today. The other thing that I see, there's a demographic shift. The middle class is losing people, and you're either moving into the lower class if you don't have any skills, or into the upper income class if you're a professional or have skills that pay a higher rate. What that means in the long run is luxury products are going to have a bigger market, less so for base grade products, but they'll have a market as well.
I saw where you had a Pew Research chart right in the beginning of your report, and you're talking about the wealthy commanding 50% of the income. I talked to T.M. Knuckles the other day, and he's telling me that in the Dixie Group, the Fabrica brand was driving a lot of their revenue. And that's because it's on the luxe side, and that's where the more affluent are buying products, right?
That's right. It's very real. We're seeing more immigration, too, and a lot of the immigration we're seeing is unskilled, and that grows the lower end of the market, but everybody wants to get a piece of the luxury where the higher margins are.
All right, before we run out of time, tell us by category what flooring surfaces are going to outpace the others.
Well, LVT is going to continue to gain share at a decreasing rate. Ceramic and laminate also will see some gains. Carpet and wood will continue to lose share, but at a slower rate. We're going to see pricing go up with inflation. Flooring is not immune to that. Consolidation continues to be an issue with big box retailers and home centers gaining share. And the thing that I find a little disconcerting for manufacturers is they're starting to self-source private label product. Retailers that used to be the biggest customers for manufacturers are now becoming bigger competitors as well. So it hasn't broken out in a war yet, but keep an eye on that. And I think residential construction and renovation will continue to be strong. And commercial will come back in 26 when interest rates start to come down. We'll start to see the commercial market in general start to pick up activity beyond schools and healthcare. If you want to know what's going on, this is the one report that will give it all to you.
All right, Santo, it's great to talk to you. Again, been talking to Santo Torcivia about the release of his 2025 edition of the U.S. FlooReport, and you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.